Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Chivalry 2 stream. I am so excited to be here today with you guys, and as always, I have Mr. Moon Moon himself joining us. Welcome to the stream, everybody.
Welcome, welcome. All I have to say is finally.
I know! It's so
Every
exciting.
week, honestly, every time we do one of these streams, and we've known about this for, this must be months now, right?
Oh, yes, these things are planned far in advance, so it's been quite a while of having to keep this a secret from you guys, but we're excited to finally be sharing some of the details with you.
It's one of those things, too, where it's like, every time we're quiet, it means that there's something going on in the background. There's all this excitement that we're building up, all the team, and like we have multiple teams doing different things. It's all just such an awesome build up. It's great.
Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are excited to hear a little bit more about the Tenosians today. We've only just had a little teaser video, as you saw right when the stream started. That went out the other day, and then we're going to be going into some details about some customization options that you guys will have access to in the update. We're going to be showing you some concept art. We're going to be talking to you a little bit about the lore as well. As things unfold, there little bits of lore will be working their way into the game. But some of you may remember the Tenosians from Chivalry 1, so we'll be mentioning what happened to them then and why they're back.
Decades in the making. And you know what? We, even back in the Chivalry 1 days, we didn't know really much anything about Tenosians. They were basically a side note, or a footnote rather, in some of the lore. But compared to what we had before, I think what we're gonna talk about today is gonna be exponentially more informative.
Absolutely. I do want to take a little bit of time at the beginning of the stream to let everybody know that this morning we actually posted a FAQ over on our blog. This is in regards to some questions that people had since the announcement came out. So I wanted to take a little bit of time just to go through this in case you're watching the stream and you haven't seen this post, but you have some questions. So in this post, we are going through, basically all your frequently asked questions. So when is this update coming out? June 12th, everybody. June 12th is when it's coming. We've committed. So the June 12th, you'll be riding on horses. You'll
Hell or
be
high
hanging
water.
out on the new maps. um, will the update be available for all platforms? Yes. Yes. The update is a free update for all platforms coming to Xbox, and it'll be coming to Steam for the first time. Xbox, PlayStation, Epic, everywhere. So as we mentioned, this is also the Steam launch. So this will be the first time that Chivalry 2 will be available on Steam, and you'll be able to download it, play it right on Steam. One of the most common questions that we got since the update was about cross progression. So I'll just go into a little bit of detail about this one. Basically, that we have multiple teams working on the Tenosian invasion update, but also the reinforced update. The reinforced update is the one that will have the cross play party features. So this reinforced update will be becoming as 2.6. That'll be after 2.5. And then cross progression between Steam and Epic will be released in a major update after Tenosian Invasion. So that'll be coming this summer. So it won't be in 2.5, but will be sometime this summer. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing.
Yeah, I think you clarified it pretty well. We know it's super important to players. Since we have the team working on the cross-platform parties, wow, you know what? It is a tongue twister.
It's hard.
Cross-platform parties and cross progression. They're working on those in parallel, so they should be coming in at about the same time for the next update. So it's definitely coming. I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people in chat will be excited about that as well.
I think we've had some questions about the helmets. I can talk a little bit about those, Jen, if you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we have 4 new exclusive helmets coming. As a summary, we have the Tenosian Beard helmet, the Agatha Lion helmet, and the Mason Eagle helmet. And those will be available for their respective factions. Now, all you have to do to get those is to follow the Chivalry 2 Steam community. They'll be coming out with 2.5, and they will be available to Steam owners. Now, Just wait. We will be coming out with those as a timed exclusive. So what that means is that after the Steam launch, in a future update, these will become available to all other platform players through various means. So that's going to be going on there. And then the same will be the case with the Horned Helmet. And the way to get that one is to own the Chivalry 1 game, basically, on Steam.
Yeah, and to be clear, it is owned on Steam right now. So if you have it on other platforms, it won't qualify. But as Moonwood mentioned, this is a timed exclusive, so you can go through this process to get them immediately. And down the line, if you're not a Steam player, you will have access to those in the future.
I think that pretty much covers it. If you guys have additional questions on that, by all means, make sure to mention it in chat, and we'll see what we can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple, like a specific question for you guys. Which faction and class can wear these helmets? So these helmets will work on any class, granted that you are on the appropriate team. So obviously, if you're wanting to wear the Agatha helmet, you will have to be playing an Agatha role. The horn helmet can be worn on any team, any class. So the next one we're going to skip for now because we're going to come back to it, but a little teaser for what and how horses will work. They haven't really made an appearance too much so far. You saw them running through the trailer a little tiny bit, but in a future stream, we will be going into much more detail about how horses work, how they were developed, all that fancy stuff. So definitely stay tuned to our Twitch channel. If you're not already, make sure to give us a follow, and we'll be having an entire stream just about horses to give you all the details. Exciting!
Yeah, I've seen the roster coming up for what we want to talk about next, so this is going to be great.
Yeah, so basically from here until Steam launch, every single stream that we have planned is going to be related to this update, and with each stream you'll be getting a little bit more trickle of information about features, maps, horses obviously, all that kind of fun stuff. So definitely look forward to that.
I see another clarification I can make. Someone asked about cross-class helmets. So yeah, all of these will be cross-class as well. So they won't be exclusive to either archer or knight or etc. Whatever your flavor of the day is.
Whoever you're feeling. And
Yeah.
in addition to all of that, what I just said, if you need a visual representation, I've got the roadmap up on screen. You can see the roadmap at any time at chivalry2.com/roadmap. But the roadmap has been updated to include the Tenosian invasion update and all of the goodies that are coming with that.
Yep. So if you take a look, I'll just list them off for you. So we have the Steam launch, and I know some people are questioning whether the Steam launch is different from the Tenosian invasion. It is one and the same. Just to reiterate there, we'll be including horses in it, and it's great because in last, like I play almost every day actually, and almost without fail, you'll see in chats. So when a horse is coming, and I just sit there like tight-lipped and everything. I'm like, it's coming, I promise. So here we are, and then we have the Breach of Bodwin. Bodwin. Yeah, I'm still working on the pronunciations, but
Me
we're getting
too.
there. Yeah, cross progression, cross party. We'll see. The next one is the Raising of Askendir, and then we have TDM Desert. Now you see TDM Wardenglade there. It's slightly different, so it's going to be a horse-oriented version of Wardenglade. So we call it the Charge of Wardenglade. Then we have the console server browser and a bunch of other things coming in there too. So one of the things we'll talk about in a little bit is kind of the customization options and things, but we have a lot to go through today.
We sure do. I feel like we've already gone through so much. So if you guys have any questions about the stuff that we already talked about, definitely let us know. I see one question. If we bought the game on Epic, if we get Chivalry on Steam, how will that transfer the helmets? That is a good question. The ability to basically have your accounts communicate with each other, that'll be something that comes with a later update in the summer. So I'll scroll back up. Oh, hang on. Let me flip back to this page real quick. That basically, it will be kind of like cross progression type thing. So if you want the helmet, you will have to own Chivalry 2 on Steam. So the helmet will not go to your Epic account at this time. The same thing if you own, if you own Chivalry 2 on Xbox, for example, and then you also had it on Steam, you won't get the helmet on Xbox, if that makes sense. It's basically what we call a Steam exclusive for right now.
I was also on Reddit recently, and I was going through some comments. It's just a bit of a Q&A, I guess, before we get started. We get some questions out of the way. So I saw a comment about console FOV. That is something we definitely are interested in doing. There are some gives and takes based on what the requirements are. With old consoles, or last gen, I should say, we have anytime you increase the FOV, it definitely has like a severe performance impact. So we're taking a look at what those severities are. We're also very interested in doing it. So nothing to comment on yet, but we're investigating the possibility for a future update for sure.
For sure. I'm
Look at that
just
beautiful
reading to
art
see.
there.
Oh, I also wanted to do. Oh, it doesn't really work that well. Here, let's stick that one back up.
We
So
get see, this would have been a great teaser image if you just zoom in slightly more.
I could try to change it, but I'm afraid to mess with my template too much. So
Yeah, I
we're
remember pushing for some like. Oh, sorry, Jenny. Go ahead.
no, go right ahead. That's fine.
Oh, I remember when we were just kind of conceiving the update internally, and we were discussing like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we tease things certain ways? And then we just ended up thinking that it would be cooler to give that reveal trailer, which I think was definitely the right way to go.
Yeah, me too. I think that it kind of came out of nowhere, so everyone was super hyped about it. Nobody really expected it. And we have 3 factions now. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a certain point for you guys? This is a question of the community where you're watching the video and then you're like, wait a minute, like something's different about this update than the other.
While you guys are answering us, Kamo Mo Bo, oh, that's a name, says, are there any new voices for the new factions? And I have a special treat for you. We're going to be previewing one of the voices later this stream. Okay. So make sure you stick by, because we're going to get to that a little later. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes, and the answer is multiple voices. Audio team's been working. Well, all our teams have been working, what am I saying? Mm-hmm. I'm loving the hype in the chat. This is awesome, just being able to finally talk about it with you guys.
Oh, I know. We are going to kind of go into, I think I'll probably start with kind of like the history of Tenosia with you guys. So it'll be a little bit of reading, because I don't know all of this off the top of my head. So feel free to keep writing away in chat while I read you a little bit of details about who exactly are Tenosia and who were they in Chivalry 1. So, after uniting the continent of Agatha, King Alfonso Aragon attempted to conquer Tenosia in a failed crusade that he would not live to see the end of. The Tenosian soldiers were acclimated to harsh weather and environments, and their light chain armor allowed them to maneuver more easily and cut down the ill-prepared Agathians whose armor bogged them down, while many burned to a crisp in the hot sunlight with ease. Tenosia itself, the capital, is Jaburdan, but most of the city lies in ruins thanks to Agatha's failed conquests.
Should I be doing an interpretive dance to this?
So we need to have like the little puppets, you know, so I could tell a little story. Little else is known or was known about Tenosia, but General Malric of the Mason Order used to fear the Tenosians' counter-invasion after the failed crusade and death of King Argon. This led to him taking over Agatha, indirectly ensuing the war between the Order and the Argon loyalists as its roots grounded in the hot desert sands of Tenosia. So if you guys actually... Oh, I wish I actually had the map. You know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and post the map a little bit later. But actually, just kidding. I can have it right here. Give me a sec, guys. I can put it right on the screen. To show you guys where exactly we're looking.
The Tenosian colors are like a yellow-green, exactly.
Let's see how well you guys can see this. So, the map we're looking at right now is basically the map that you'll see in game. And Tenosia is actually located further south here. So you can do some imagining on where they'd be marching up from. Pretty neat.
Super exciting. Jeez. Yeah, and if you zoom in on that map too, you can, if you haven't looked at it before, you can kind of zoom in and see the locations of some of the pre-existing fights and battles that we have in Chivalry 2. I think, and in Chivalry 1, I have to double check.
Yeah, I think I can actually swap this back as well. Give me a moment. Actually, ooh, I changed it up on you guys. So this is a still image from the trailer, which basically gives you a look at the kind of environment that these guys would have been fighting in.
Yeah, so these two new teal maps and the desert map as well, it's going to have a few different locations. So you have the, well, I can't talk about it too much. I'm going to leave it as a teaser, but yeah, they're going to be in two distinct locations for the teal maps, and it's going to be a very cohesive but nice contrast at the same time. And I think you guys will see exactly what we mean when we get into it more.
Absolutely, yeah. There's, as I mentioned, with the upcoming streams, we will be going into more detail about the map specifically. Uh, but just to give you some context of, what are these fighters battling with and why do they look the way that they look, is because they come from a very different climate. Agatha's actually much more north, so they're used to fighting in colder weather. So yeah, I can
There are some really
actually.
I want to give a shout out to the environment artists actually, who did some really cool kind of like technical work on these maps, where you have like heat waves radiating off the sand. I know one or two people noticed it, but definitely keep an eye out for those. We have some great sand effects and a lot of larger effects as well that we're not gonna mention here.
Dropping the T's, but not too much.
Just the right amount of teas.
Just making sure I'm not missing any questions in here. Sandstorm incoming. Maybe. Since I'm gonna actually jump into basically who are the Tenosians and what are they doing in Chivalry 2, if you want to read along or listen along with me while you chat, here we go. So, Tenosia is a strange land to the south, long hovered by a distant threat over the lands of Agatha after the failed crusade, which led to the death of King Argon, as I mentioned. It ultimately is what ignited the civil war between the Mason Order and the Agatha Knights. So now, in Chivalry 2, Tenosia strikes back at Baldwin's bulwark, the long standing barrier that has held these empires and stood unconquered for centuries. Rumors of devastating new technology threaten the ancient stronghold, and if it falls, the lands of Agatha shall burn and weep beneath the vengeance of the Tenosian Empire. The Empire is a sophisticated and academic culture, which had enjoyed long peace prior to the invasion of the First Crusades. All that changed when war brought to their shores by the barbarians of the north, and they have spent more than 20 years plotting their retaliation. Built mostly on harsh, arid lands, their people have adapted with wondrous engineering, city planning, and stargazing that leave their lands prosperous and rich. And that's something that you'll actually see a little bit in the trailer for some of those wider shots, just how prosperous and rich the land has become since basically everything was burnt to the ground more than 20 years ago.
I think that's one of my favorite things about Tenosia too, is where they have such a sophisticated culture, and in their eyes, just much more sophisticated than what you would see from the northern peoples. And it definitely allows us to kind of take it into a different direction, where you have more interesting engineering related objectives, or the way they kind of perceive their own culture and having like these different elements to their gameplay, I guess you would say, compared to what you've seen before.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of sets the Tenosians apart is they really have um, a focus on engineering, mathematics, stargazing, as I mentioned. So they're very like scientific-ish, if that makes sense, in comparison to what we've seen so far. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for types of new engineering feats that we haven't quite seen so far.
And yeah, you know what? They just wanted to do their own thing. They just wanted to enjoy their culture and all the math. And then decades before, Agatha said, "No, thank you. We're going to be stealing some of this." And they've just been plotting for decades now. They're not
We're out
happy.
for
And I think the Civil
revenge.
War, yeah, the Civil War is kind of this perfect opportunity to insert themselves into the conflict and really be a huge threat. Speaking of threats, since you read those ones, do you want me to take over the character readings? Because I think these are pretty cool.
Absolutely. So we have some new characters we're going to be introducing. So I'll let you take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So there's going to, in lore wise, we're going to be starting with two really cool character intros. One of them is, I'll start, let me just see. I will start with the second of command, actually. So we have Tahar Rahman, and he is the master of the curved blades and leader of the imperial army. He's considered the greatest warrior in Tenosia. He claims to have slayed King Argon I himself in single combat, and has become a beloved champion to the Tenosian people. A rugged man of little words and swift action, he stands as the Queen's right-hand man and her direct link to the military support of the Empire. Now, if that wasn't interesting enough for you right away, I do want to bring up the fact that he's the right-hand man of the Queen. So Tenosians are led by a really fearsome queen who we're going to be talking about.
Hell yeah.
Finally, I know, right? So
Women do
she's known
exist.
as. It's true, and you know what? Even in our own worlds, there's been so many cases where the women have like such a powerful representation in history, and I think it's really important to highlight that.
Absolutely. I'm pretty
So
stoked.
the the Queen of Tenosia, the Tigress of Tenosia, also known as, is Maya Vane. So I'm just going to be reading here as well. Sorry in advance. Following the chaos in Tenosia at the outset of the war, Maya Vane rose to power after a series of ruthless assassinations of her own family, who sat closer in line to the throne. While most of the nobility were content to cheer their victory in defending the Crusades, she knew how lucky they were the invaders had so underestimated the harsh climate. Their people had been allowed to grow fat and soft, and the great wealth of the empire was vulnerable. Through a unique mixture of ruthlessness and cunning, she convinced the nobility, often by example, that they could no longer afford to put aside the duty of war to the empire. The Tigress of Tenosia built her name and bolstered the imperial army on strong claims that she would not rest until the lands of the north were hers or hell's. They're screwed.
Hers or hell's. Oh my goodness. She sounds like a badass.
I'm loving this. I think Chad's getting ramped up, being like, "Yeah, good luck with that. We're gonna take it back." So that kind of gives you guys a bit of an intro. I hope you guys like the little teaser there. There's honestly there's so much of this update that it's hard to cover everything. So
I
we've covered a
know.
little bit about like voices coming in, a bit of the lore. Let me see here. Let me just let's check on chat and see how we're doing over here.
Yeah. So we can actually, while you guys are writing, kind of talk a little bit about what we're going to be jumping into next is kind of the look of the Tenoshi Empire. Um, so as Moonwind mentioned, their colors are yellow and green, and I just put it up on screen that their faction animal is the king cobra. It's a big snaky snake, which is pretty neat.
It's kind of a perfect representation of them too, where they're just more kind of like more subtle until you provoke them, and then you don't want to be messing with them.
Yeah, like they're not necessarily going to be the ones to attack you first, but if you start to mess with them, you're going to get the venom. We have quite a few kind of inspirations for the Tenoshu cosmetics. So it's kind of like, um, as I mentioned, the king cobra is something that carries out throughout. It's definitely like a Persian inspired, Egyptian, Babylonian, kind of like Middle East, India inspirations, very spiritualized but civilized. We want to convey that they have like a very strong scientific link, knowledge of astronomy. Um, they also have kind of like more advanced technologies that maybe we'll get to see a little bit later. Not necessarily this stream, but you can imagine what I'm thinking when I say advanced technologies.
Yeah, don't underestimate the danger noodles, guys.
Does Tenosia have its own language? That's a good question. I actually don't know. I will have to ask and get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I can't say I have an answer for that one either. Sorry, guys.
The Tenosian heraldry, one of them, so basically the snake with the blade behind it is basically their main heraldry, as we call it, or their main representation. But there are other icons that will be associated with Tenosia as well.
Exactly.
Pegasus when? Well, we will be swapping over
Just
to
after
House of
dragons,
Drift.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
I
necessarily
can dream, guys.
Pegasus.
I can dream.
Not necessarily Pegasus, but the Tenosians and the Agathians and the Masons. In the next slide, we'll actually go over kind of what the horses for Tenosia will look like. But on screen right now, I actually have shields. I know, very exciting stuff. So these are the Tenosia shields. On the left-hand side there, you can see some of our concept artwork. And on the right-hand side are some renders of shields that you can expect to be using as a Tenosia player. Dope.
Dope. Yeah, it's my pleasure being able to have worked with the art teams, and I think I was around when some of these concepts started coming in, and so one of the cool things about being as part of the art team is people who are much smarter than I am can really point to small subtleties in what they want, and which can be taken from inspiration from real world cultures and adding their own twist to things. So we can see here that we have some like specific notes around the shields, and shields themselves, they actually have to have three models made or at least
Mm-hmm.
adjusted. So you can see the broken, or see the fully created, and then you have the broken, and then you have or damaged and then broken. Sorry, guys. So yeah, and then we have some different kind of customizations onto the shields there. They're very much compared to the other ones. They're not so much heraldry based as they are functionality and design based. And I don't want to say too much because I'm not a character artist and I don't want to butcher anything.
I think you were doing just fine.
Thank you.
So Tenosians faction are completely separate from Agatha and Masons, and yes, that is true. So it is a completely separate third faction that is not Agatha and not Mason.
Yeah, they're playable as a third faction for you guys.
Yeah, and basically the playability of them will depend on the map. So they'll be present on the new maps, and then you know basically every map that you play in Chivalry is supposed to be representative of an actual battle that took place in the realm. So who you're playing and who you're fighting against kind of depends on where in the lore that battle took place.
Yeah, and in a similar but different note as well, with regarding horses, we will have the horses on the two new maps, um, two new TO maps, and they'll be on the two TDM maps as well. They're not going to be in other maps yet, but don't knock that away in terms of future possibilities for sure.
Speaking of, oh no, it's not that. Wait, hang on. Let's go this one first.
All right,
So these are some
all
of
right, close your eyes, guys. Close your
our
eyes.
spike traps and this kind of stuff here. So these are kind of what you can expect to be placing down, as placeable traps or defense items. More spikes, says Pope Mobile 10.
More spikes.
Yeah.
I think one of the big challenges that we were kind of realizing, and we knew that adding a new faction was going to be a huge endeavor. One of the big things that we realized is that for every single like UI element and every single kind of aesthetic, whether it's a wieldable prop or just like special abilities with different things for different factions, everything needed to be made from the ground up. So we had a ton of concepting going into all of the new assets and things that went in, and it was a huge amount of work, but I think it turned out really well, and I think you guys will see that soon enough.
Yeah, we hope that by looking through this stuff, you're able to see, just how individual and separate Tenosians look, cosmetically and also thematically from the other two factions. So it really will be a totally new experience.
The Tenosian's construction level is 99. This is just to make them look like they don't have these other engineering elements to them. You'll see.
This is only the concept sketch. Like the shields, the shield looks much fancier. But these guys, don't knock them yet.
Oh yeah, you just wait and see. It's gonna be great. So yeah, I really like how those turned out. I think especially the barricade is really cool looking. I can't remember which one we went with specifically. It might be number 3, but yeah, we tend to do different possibility passes, and you'll see that in some of the more recent pictures as well. And then the lead artists and management and design will come in and be like, okay, I think we want to go lean towards this way. And especially with the horse, which you'll see, it was a mix of a few actually that ended up being the case for what we built.
Speaking of horse, I have kind of the first up close look at what players can expect from their horses in game. And this horse in particular is the Tenosia horse. So, as I mentioned, each faction gets their own unique looking horse, and we'll be going into more details about all of the horsey details in a separate Twitch stream. But the Tenosia horse is on screen right now. You can see some of the concept artwork on the left, and then the final render on the right. So he's a lovely chap. He's got some
What an
green and
absolute
yellow.
unit.
Yeah, absolutely. He is an absolute unit. He's got some lovely decorative headwear across the forehead, and on the reins and the bridle and all kinds of stuff. So he's very fancy.
Yeah, and I think what I was just talking about before too, you can really see in these concepts. So if you notice variant C, and then we took the kind of the front plate from variant A, and then we combined those two.
I saw a question in chat. Can you steal other factions' horses? And yes, you can. But much like shields, they will actually swap over visually. So if you get on a Tenosia horse, it'll swap to a visual horse of your own faction. That's
Yeah,
just
there's
like for
definitely
visual consistency. Yeah.
exactly. We want to make sure, in the same way that shield factions will swap in the game, we want to make sure that it's people are recognizable for the team that they're on.
Yeah. So he's a lovely horse. And as I mentioned, there'll be much more details about the horse in a future stream. I got a very barbaric question of can you kill horses and chop off their heads? You can definitely kill horses, yes. And however
I don't want to
graphic you
reveal
want to
too much,
be.
almost. Yeah, just try it out.
PETA's
For those
already
barbarians.
calling.
See, this is why Tenosia's angry. They're like, look at these barbarians in the north doing these crazy things.
Oh boy. Horse murder. We're going to be jumping into some of the armor concepts next. So we have one here to show you guys. This is some of the archer concepts for Tenosia. Basically, when we do armor concepts, we kind of want to design multiple tiers, but also multiple looks that kind of all look generally the same. So you can kind of see they all have the same similar style to make sure that they all look like archers.
Yeah, now keep in mind these are concepts as well, so I think some of the details will have changed from inception
Yes.
to the final result. Um, just talking about here, the interesting thing about Tenosians as well is that we, instead of being more class-based, so you would have archer, vanguard, footman, knight, it's more geared towards light and heavy sets. So what you're going to have is so it says Tenosia Archer, which is where the inspiration came from, but you have this armor that can be used either on archers or vanguards. And then for the heavy armor sets, you're going to have footmen and knights that can be using interchangeably some of the armor that you have.
Yeah, so that's the first time that we'll actually have these lights and heavy sets, so that'll be something new for people to get used to.
I think we have some renders of these actually, or what the
We
final
do.
results end up being.
We definitely do.
Yeah,
So
the shoes are super cool. I love them.
So as Moon said, I wrote Tenosia Archer on here, but it is the Tenosia light armor, and we just have it posed with the archer here.
It's really cool because this is a lot different from anything that we have currently, and it really helps keep them distinct compared to other armor sets.
Yeah, like the way that the cloth sits, and of course the helmet's very unique.
I'm sorry that I'm not speaking. I'm just kind of admiring the work that went into this, to be honest. Yeah. Maybe just go back to the concept art. You can see kind of like the switch of before and final, because it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I think the ones we went for are A, B, and D, I believe. Those are the
Yeah, and then
ones.
modifications,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
so you can kind of see like the kind of whitish silhouette carried over here. I don't know. Yeah, you can't see my mouse on the screen. And then we kind of carried over these greens and teals and all those kinds of lovely jewel tones brought through as well.
I'm glad you guys are enjoying because I love looking at this.
Yeah. I thought it would be exciting to do kind of a deep dive in this because it'll be a little bit before you guys can actually get your hands on it, but I'm certainly excited for it. So
I think this is really cool because I think it's a shorter amount of time between when we've announced like an update like this and the time between release. So there's really not that long to go before you guys are gonna be able to see this.
I mean, yeah, it's already May 20th, so well, May 19th. It's just around the corner in all of the grand scheme of things.
Okay, set your Google calendars, set your paper calendars. You're not going to want to miss it.
Next up, we have the Tenosia heavy armor, and pictured is the Tenosia footman. So here's some of the different tiers that are available. We'd stuck with a much more like yellowish color palette you can see here, kind of a yellow, olive, dark green kind of vibe in comparison to the light armor, which is, much more colorful, reds, greens, bright, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love listening to the character artists discuss kind of the coloring and texturing because they'll be like, okay, and then we're going to add a hit of this color here. I'm just like starstruck just watching them do their work. It's great.
Absolutely. Question in chat says, are the heavy and light armors purely cosmetic? And the answer to that is yes. So basically the health and armor values that a class has comes from the class that you're playing. And any of the cosmetics that you choose to wear are just that. They're just cosmetic. So, you can choose to wear a helmet or choose not to. You won't get any bonus damage or lose any protection if you don't wear a helmet.
We've had a little bit of that since release, where if you wear a helmet and you don't wear a helmet, then you're totally good to go. I think it's one of the focuses that we really wanted to do was just have kind of that freedom to show off your head, basically. And if you have like all those different hairstyles that you want to show off, it's great to not have to wear a helmet.
Tuatara asks, so any of the Tenosian classes can choose between light and heavy. No, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I do believe you said the light is for the archer and the vanguard, and the heavy is for footmen and knights.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So you can choose between two, basically, depending on what class you've picked.
We can also see just a slight variation into tiers here as well. If you look at the top right, that'll be the tier 1. There are some distinctions where you have slight color alterations, but also just in terms of cosmetically, you have more of a build-up on the armor. So top right is tier 1. I'm just kind of glancing through just to double check. On the left side, you have tier 2, and you can kind of tell by the shoulder guards and how much just kind of complementary embellishment they have on it. And then bottom right is tier 3.
And I think that's something that we actually talked about in a stream with Ivan, our character artist. We talked about, how do we visually separate the different tiers? Because we want to make every tier look cool and want people to use each of them. So having these different little bits added or taken away, different colors used, we try to make every skin, regardless of its tier, look very cool.
Definitely. I do live on the moon, for whoever was asking. It's a nice sunny day out here.
Sunny day on the moon. Up on screen right now, I have a weapon tease. So this is one of the weapon skins. This is the Pala for the Falchion. It's pretty neat. This is only one weapon that I'm showing today because I don't want to give you all of the goodies all up front. So there are other weapons. But what do you guys think in chat? What do you guys think? I'm seeing a lot
looking good. I know when we first showed the trailer, people were curious if it's like a whole new weapon or if it's a weapon skin. They are weapon skins in this place. In this case.
Yes. Very nice. That's quacktastic.
Nice. Smart. Cool.
Slicey stabby. Looks pointy. Great feedback, guys. Great feedback.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's that's the kind of feedback that I give to character artists, and they just look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, feedback to the character artist. Looks pointy. Well done. Looks like a sword. But some of the visual details that are pretty interesting in this one is the tier 1 is kind of much more worn down with lots of marks in the blade here, and as we get further up, the higher tiers have these really intricate engravings. In particular, I really enjoy this third tier with the really detailed or etched black snake coiling on the blade. Very cool.
I really like it that there's such a serpent feature in
Hmm.
a lot of these. So we call it the Pala here. I think the official name that you guys are going to see in game is Carabella. We tend to like go back and forth between namings and stuff, especially with voices that we add to the game.
That is accurate. Yes. We did kind of touch on this earlier, but I did also want to kind of show you guys a little bit closer up view of these guys. These are our 4 exclusive helmets. If you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, we talked about how to get those. They are Steam exclusive, so um, make sure to follow us on the Chivalry 2 Steam community if you're not already. We definitely appreciate it. And you get these 3 cool helmets with your Chivalry 2 Steam game. And then the last one here is the horned helmet, and that is free to Chivalry 1 owners on Steam as well. Um, and so I have some renders of how cool these are. So this is the first one. This is the Tenosia beard helmet. Definitely a cool one. Full face helmet.
Great facial expression too.
Yeah. Big pointy chin. Spooky. Would love to see it.
I'd love to see it.
We also have the Agatha Lion helmet. I don't know about you guys, but I've been really excited to have animal related helmets. I just think they're so cool. So I'm really stoked to see the lion and also the Mason
Yeah,
eagle, which is obviously based on the eagle.
especially to have that like representation of the quote unquote mascots of each faction is really cool.
Hmm.
I love the eagle helmet. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, I really want like as long as I've been working here, I've really liked the idea of like having more bird elements in the Mason armor. Just because I think it would be so cool to have not necessarily like wings, but like shoulder plates that kind of look like wings and all that kind of cool stuff. So I'm really stoked to see the eagle making its way in.
And then Lord of the Rings style, like eagle familiars that you can take you around the battlefield. Or maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself.
You know, I would totally
Never
be down
say
for
never.
that. More animals armor. Do it. Okay.
Agreed. Yeah, they're all great every time they come in.
Agreed. Last but not least, we have the hilarious and amazing horned helmet here with his beautiful antlers. Full face
It
helmet
has such a
again.
unique look. This was
So
actually a
cute.
helmet that was available in Chivalry 1, and I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to bring it to Chivalry 2. It's just it's such an icon.
Really, I don't know how well you can see it on stream. There will be, better versions of this available, especially when we do the patch notes and stuff. But this one in particular, there's a lot of like intricate details around to do all of the little like wrinkles around the eyes, all that kind of fun stuff. So these are, very, very cool. Excuse me, a little sneeze. I think
Bless
this
you.
is the end of my art here.
Yeah, I hope you guys are getting excited because you know what we show some character art and stuff, but there's still like all these environments that you guys have yet to see. So you're definitely going to be wanting to check it out.
Absolutely. We have one more piece of customization, and that is actually a what we call a soliloquy. Do you want to introduce the soliloquy, Moon?
Sure. Yeah. So we have, as you guys are well aware, we have lots of voices in the game. And when we were talking about creating a new faction, I think there was really just one way we wanted to go, and that was to add. I think we ended up adding 4 new voices, so at least one per class. So we have 3 male voices, and I saw earlier someone was asking about females. So we have 3 male voices and another female that we were able to get into the game.
Pretty
And
darn
so what we
stoked.
have for these soliloquies is When we're doing a vocal session, we'll often have the actor read out kind of a description of their character or their motivation, at least. And it really helps get them into character before they end up doing the 700 or so voice lines in that session that they end up needing to do. So it definitely kind of sets the tone, and I think they turned out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one we have today, I believe, is called Haughty Counselor. So I'm going to play
That's right.
that now.
It is well known about the self-righteous King Ergon and his doomed crusade into our lands. They sent their best warriors to face Tenosia and were easily defeated. For every Tenosian is Tenosia's best warrior. Every farmer, merchant, and counselor is worth a score of the North Swine soldiery. They will lose again.
They will lose again.
I was a little bit behind on stream just listening. Yeah. Oh my god. You don't want to mess with that. Oh my god. Yeah. It was. When we were doing our playtests internally, it was a while before we had those voices in game. So for the longest time, you were actually just hearing Squire Boy yelling out during our playtest for the Tenosians. And when those voices came in, it immediately made all the difference. It was amazing.
And they sound so much. Someone mentioned that it was an authentic accent, so they sound very different than the voices that we have in game so far. And that's something that I don't mean to speak for audio in general, but I think that that's something that we really like, is that all of the voices have their own personality. Basically, I mean, we separate them into personality, so they definitely represent a wide
We want
breadth
them to
of
be unique.
people.
We want them
Yeah.
to have a slightly different vibe than some of the past personalities. A lot of the inspiration for Tenosia as the Tenosian Empire was having it as a unique, cohesive. And I think having him, the actor or the haughty counselor, talk about how everyone is kind of equally important in Tenosian. I think that really embodies the idea of like the empire. And when you compare that to Mason or Agatha, it's more like a collection of individuals with their all like really unique, quirky personalities who are kind of conscripted to join this war. But Tenosia is just all in all the time.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to swap our image up on screen just to give a new perspective. So this is, we're not going to go into detail about it, but this is one of the maps that you guys will be playing on, and you'll be able to hear more about that map in particular in a future stream. So we have approximately 10 minutes left in our stream. I want to give a little bit of time just to kind of go over any Tenosia-related questions that you guys have, or about the update itself in case anything wasn't answered in the FAQ, or anything about the roadmap. Any of those are open to questions. Yeah.
I like this really simple question here. Destruction? And my answer
Destruction
is
question mark?
yes.
Yes. Destruction on new maps? Big time, yes. Yeah. Console chase mechanic, that's on our radar. We do know it's broken right now, and it is something that we're going to be looking at to fix.
Yeah. 3 team fights, nothing planned at the moment, but with the third faction, you never know what might come in the future.
Would definitely be quite interesting to have all 3 in one place, wouldn't it? Very interesting. Bandito says, wouldn't be Shiv without destruction. Honestly, I agree.
Someone talked about Rome, and I guess it's kind of hard to tell here, but I think in some ways there was some Roman influence going into some of these maps. When we do anything related to Agatha, Mason, and now Tenosia, there's usually inspiration from everywhere in terms of what fits into their respective cultures.
I see a question.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to answer. I remember seeing in the dev questions, it's, will the voice lines for Mason and Agatha be acclimated towards the Tenosians? And this is something that I actually worked on myself, and it was kind of a big, deep dive through all of the VO that we had existing, which was not insignificant, and taking out every line or adjusting some to make it so that the Masons won't reference the Agathians and the Agathians won't reference the Masons. So that took me at least a few days of work. But yeah, that's all being taken care of and shouldn't appear. If it does, it's a bug and you can let me know.
Blame him specifically. No, I'm just kidding.
Blame me. Write me letters.
Oh. Question of, will we be getting any weapon balance? And I can't give specifics, but I can confidently say yes, that weapon balance in general is something that we do every single update. If there's a specific weapon that you would like to see us look at, definitely let us know.
Going back to the progression transfer. So do you want to give the official statement on that? I just don't want to talk about it off the top of my
Yes,
head.
give me one moment and I will pop that back up on stream. Right there. Yeah, so we released a FAQ today, which if you want to see like any specific details about this actual post, it's on chivalry2.com on our blog. But basically it says that cross progression between Steam and Epic will be released in the next major update after Tenosia Invasion, which is coming in the summertime. So it won't be in the 2.5 Tenosian Invasion update, but after that. How long will the helmets be timed exclusives? I don't exactly have a time for you. Obviously, when we know when that's going to happen, we'll be sure to let everybody know, though. But currently, no specific timeline.
Will we be able to buy the special edition on Steam? I believe that's the case, and I'm going to say I'm 95% certain that will be set up for you guys.
Will there be new weapons in the next update? Yes. No. Well, new skins for weapons. I should be specific because I'll get quoted. Not new weapons, new weapon skins. So they will look different but act the same.
I will say that we do have a new weapon in the works, kind of behind the scenes. We won't be talking about that today, though. And it won't be for the Tenosian Invasion.
There won't be new Agatha or Mason skins in Tenosian Invasion, but obviously that's something that will be coming in the future. We always are working on new skins.
Especially with this update, we had so much to do with creating a new faction that it just wasn't quite in the bandwidth for it. But we do have some stuff in the works now.
Serpent weapon skins, yeah.
I do love you too, Willie. There won't be any changes to the loadouts as it is currently. In terms of balancing that we talked about a little bit before in terms of weapon balance, there's also going to be a bit of class balance. I won't be talking about it today. For one or two classes, just to bring them in line with what players want and what we kind of expect. And then we'll be evaluating how that goes when we come back. Another one that wasn't mentioned here, but I know people have been asking about, is that Coxwell will make a return. So you guys can see all these peasant voices and back in their full glory soon.
Yes, Coxwell is definitely going to be making a return. I don't miss Coxwell. Aww.
I'll try not to cry.
So did you make any drastic change to Coxwell? There's quite a few balance changes. I do not have the patch notes in front of me right now, but I do know there was quite a few changes made.
Yeah, so I can't go into specifics. I can talk about the high level, where there were some overarching changes made to some stages, but the primary change that went in was more about rebalancing for 40 and 64 players, respectively, for the two queues. So that one will have varying, especially for the last stage, it'll have varying kill counts that change based on how many players are in the game for that last stage. I think I mentioned it. I've mentioned it in the past, so I can talk about it today regarding console text chat. That is a requirement given to us where we aren't able to offer text chat in consoles, and something we'd like to do, but we're just restricted on doing. If other games have that, it might be different restrictions set out for them. That's all I can say about that topic. Yeah. Button mapping, we're interested in doing. We don't have it for this update, but it's on our to-do list of giving you guys some more options. You picked a great shot to just kind of have in the background.
Yeah, so I just actually swapped it over. This is the same map that was up earlier, but it's a different shot of it, different angle. I think we've kind of gotten to the end of most of the questions. The one I see that I do think I will mention is parties kind of splitting up when you're transferring to a new lobby. And that's an issue that we're currently investigating. It is an Xbox specific issue for whatever reason. So it's something that we're currently investigating, and it's definitely on our radar. Leather console asks that. So just letting you know that
Yeah,
we do know about it. Yeah.
I can talk a little bit about that one as well,
Yeah.
because I know that I was part of the investigation for that. With the new systems coming in that are going to be affecting the cross-platform parties, we're expecting that to be resolved with that when that comes in.
Alrighty. I just want to reiterate again that this is basically the first of multiple streams that will be happening in the next weeks up until June 12th. We will be having a horsey related stream. So basically, everything that you want to know about horses, all locked down in an hour. We'll be talking about the other customization options for them, basically how the horses were made and how they work now. So that'll be coming up. Also coming up, we'll be talking about the maps themselves. So we have 4 new maps coming up, and we'll be talking about the 2 TO and the 2 TDM in a lot more detail than we did today. Today was just focusing on, talking about the Tenosians, who they are, why are they here, what are we going to be doing with them, all that kind of fun stuff. So definitely give us a follow on Twitch if you haven't already. And you can also turn on notifications in case that's something you want to do, so you can get a alert basically every time we go live. So that's very fun.
We love you all.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As always, I am Jen. I'm your community manager, and I am joined by our lovely producer, Moon Moon. Yeah.
Thanks all for your time, guys. This was a lot of fun. I love hanging out with you guys. Any excuse, right?
Absolutely. If there's any information that you saw in the stream but you missed, I'll be doing a recap over on chivalry2.com. So look out for that as well, and we'll see you next time. Bye,
See you
guys.
guys out there.